What is up, everybody? I hope that everybody is having a fantastic day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are joining us from in the world. Thank you so much. And guys, we are here on episode 14 of Artist on Artist Spotlight featuring Malakai Manson. Malakai, how are you doing, my friend?
I am doing very well. I'm doing very well.
I love to hear it. I love to hear it. All right. Are you excited to get into the interview today and just, to kind of go down this journey with me?
I most definitely am. I'm excited to see what you got ready for me.
Absolutely. All right. Well, then let's get right into it, guys. So as we do on every one of the Artist on Artist. Oh, hey, Ira, thank you so much, everybody, for tapping in, everybody that's already here. I really appreciate it. So I like to be able to start out every episode with some music, get people, grooving, get people moving around. And I always have at least 3 songs that I'm going to pick when I'm going into one of these. And I always like to start out with my favorite one first. And let me pull up the banner right now. And so my favorite song that I listen to and Malakai had a lot of music. He has a lot released. So I was able to, listen to a lot of music. And Supposed to Be featuring Exotic is one of my top 3 songs on the album. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and then I'm going to play the song. And then we will get into the interview after that. And we'll also be talking about, just getting a little bit more in depth into Malakai, his story and his artistry and talent as well. So let's pull up that. And here is the actual specific his YouTube page. And so guys, everybody take a look at the name there and also make sure and go subscribe to Malakai and turn on all notifications so you know when he drops a new song. But let me pull up this song here. All right, let's press play.
Okay. Hey. Whoa. Hey. As above is so below. Watching the rainforest, staring out the window, listening to the wind blow. Tired of dealing with the highs and lows, smoking till I'm comatose. I've told myself I never sold my soul. Always been for it told. It's always been for it told. Compromise with the devil inside. Give me an insight on my demise. Cast it from the heavens. I've been posted in the shadows. As above is so below. Caught up in the riptide, taken off by the flood. Let my body drift away. I'm too high, lift my spirit. Don't get it twisted. I've been stuck at bay for days. Violent visions in my head. They've been stuck on replay. Had to repay the devil's favor, savor the satisfaction of being put out of my misery. My reaction was redacted with the thought of being at peace. Fuck it, I'm there where I'm supposed to be. Wow, hey. Residue in my notebook, I've been sitting here writing all night, Can't comprehend these thoughts, my mind got me running wild, smoking on this thrash. Ain't no black and mild, looking for the signs. I can't seem to unwind, I can't seem to understand. Fuck all the dramatics, I just need the dividends.
Yeah, I just need the money, but I got the schematic. Yeah, get out of my face, you being so dramatic. You all up in my head, you all up in my attic. I kill a bitch, they been cause tragic. 2, 2, 3's I'm tripping, happy it's a habit. I blacked out and now I'm backing down. I'm back in my time, sorry but I am back now. I'm mentally ill, I take my medication,
All right, so you guys, I just wanted to be able to give it a little bit of a tease. You know how I like to be able to do it, just enough to be able to get your guys's, get the mouth salivating, be able to be like, oh, now I want to hear the rest of that song. So that was Supposed to Be featuring Exotic. And again, and one of the things I always like to point out is that, hey, you know what? These are some of my preferences. So when you are listening through Malakai's music, maybe you might have your top 3 favorite songs. So definitely down in those comments, guys, let us know after you've had the chance to listen to Malakai's catalog. What are your top 3? And are they different than what mine are? Or are they some of them the same? But Malakai, let's talk about this song a little bit because Exotic is a artist that you have done several songs with. So he's a person that
Yes,
you
sir.
know consistently will come back to. So give me a little bit more about how this song came to be and Exotic, how long you guys have been working together. You know, just kind of give us a little bit of that background on this song specifically, but then with the two of you directly.
So Exotic is a former name. He goes by Schmitty now, JJ Schmitty. So shout out my boy Schmitty.
Okay, so
He
that's Schmitty.
is,
Cool.
yeah,
Nice.
he's basically my engineer, producer. He is the owner of the Underside label, which I'm a part of, as well
Cool.
as a couple other people. So basically, like, yeah, he's the main man. He's the one who makes the shit happen. That song is one
Mhm.
of the like first songs that we had made, like more so trying to take the shit a little bit seriously, like kind of fucking around with like different sounds. Like I don't really do a lot of auto tune stuff, so it kind of has that auto tune vibe to it. Like at the same
Yeah.
time, I feel like those songs that are like from those projects too, like 4, 5, 6 months ago prior, are all rushed too. So like there's a handful of songs that are good. I like the flows on that one. I like the beat to it, but like
Yeah.
yeah, that's just some stuff that I was kind of doing, like more so just trying to
Okay.
get like a grasp of really how to make music and stuff like that. Like, I
Oh,
feel like I
okay.
feel I feel like if you listen to a lot of the stuff that I've been putting out now within the past like maybe 3 months or so, it's a lot more put together and it's a lot more like just taking my time with stuff, man.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. And now when I'm taking a look at this album, now this album name was called Motionless. And you
Yeah.
know, when I'm taking a look at the actual so when I'm taking a look at the actual information here actually on the web or actually on YouTube and everything, and it shows that Motionless was what was that, about 7 months ago when that one came out?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was like towards the beginning of last year. So yeah, that makes sense, about 7 to 8 months ago or so, yeah.
70 months. Nice. Okay, nice. Okay, so that makes sense. And then because in one of the things that I had, you know, that I always like to kind of take a look at when I'm going over an artist catalog is like, okay, what is that time frame from the very first thing that they put out or the first single to the final single or the final project? So in the sense for you as the artist, and you also had made a reference to like, okay, and then you know we started working on this song and we were working, I was, you know, working with JJ Smitty in the sense of, you know, oh, I kind of started working with him when I was taking it to the next level and really trying to take it more seriously. So how long have you been doing music overall, and then what would that point be where it was like, okay, then I like joined the label, tried to take it more seriously, and boom, went from there? What would that timeline look like for you?
So like when it comes to music and stuff, like I started out doing poetry and I started out doing like acapella poetry slams, probably dating back to
Cool.
like late 2022 probably. So like I kind of got my foot in
Oh,
doing stuff like
okay.
that. I didn't really start rapping until like it was like late 2023 going into 2024 because we were doing a lot of we started doing a lot of shows and stuff in the area and stuff like that, and like
Okay.
yeah, I just seen everybody else rapping and shit, and I was like, okay, I just want to actually rap over beats and stuff. So I would say like
Yeah.
probably about a year and a half, a good year and a half or so.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Because that is one thing I was wondering in listening to the catalog and just going through your music. I was like, wow, like I don't really see a lot that feels like it's just blatantly a lot over like a year or two at the most. So
Yeah,
that is impressive. I mean, that is a lot of music to have released in a year and a half. I am really impressed. I mean, I think about, you know, my catalog, and I released my first album back in 2017, and
yeah.
it's like, yes, I have some music for sure, but like, I mean, it feels like you have more than me, but after a year and a half, and I've been doing this for like 8. So I'm just like, wow, like, damn, you are like making a song of like a couple every other day. Here's a new
yeah,
one out
so
ready to go.
yeah, so I basically had the idea last year, and I started like doing
Mhm.
this at the beginning of last year too. I had the
Okay.
idea, okay, I'm gonna put out some kind of project every single
Yep.
month of the year, and by the end of the
Mhm.
year, I'll have 12 projects out and well over like maybe 50 to 60 songs. Looking
Yep.
back on that, I think it was a bad idea because a lot of those songs were
Mm.
rushed and not well put
Okay.
together, and it was kind of me just
Gotcha.
trying to figure shit out. And I feel like I
Yeah.
should have kept them in the vault instead of just putting
Mm.
a bunch of shit out and then like trying to get as much content out that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked, I guess, in a sense that, like, I have a lot of stuff that you can go and check out, and you can also see the progression of the stuff that I was posting a year ago prior to the
Yeah.
stuff that I'm posting now. Like,
Now, right.
I got
Yep.
a project that's gonna drop on Valentine's Day. Undertaken to the
Ooh, nice.
underside, all platforms on Valentine's Day.
Nice. Valentine's Day. And then say the name of the album, Undertaker to the Underside.
Undertaken to the underside. So the underside is the label.
Undertaken.
Yeah. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
right. Yes. Okay, cool. Undertaken to the Underside. Okay, I really
Yes,
like
sir.
that. It's a badass name. Undertaken to the Underside. I like that a lot. That is cool. Okay, and so guys, again, you heard it here first. That drops Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2025. Brand new. Now, is this another album, EP? How many songs is this one going to be?
If I'm not mistaken, it's 6 songs, and the vibe
Okay.
on it is just very, very, like, it's just distorted trap metal stuff. It's either lo-fi or trap metal. So the last project was
Okay.
lo-fi, and now we're going with the trap metal stuff. So
Trap metal. All right, nice.
yes,
Okay.
sir.
Trap metal for Undertaken. All right. So then, okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and let's focus on you for a second and your name, because I think it's always important to start out that at the beginning, because
Okay.
obviously we talk about, it's like you're introducing yourself as the artist for the first time. Boom.
Okay.
It's an important thing, and it's one of the first things that we will move forward with if we're, hey, okay, well, I want to do this show, and you should want to bring me along because of this, or hey, this is why you would want to work with me on, this project because of boom, like because of my name or whatever. So Malakai Manson, is that in the sense of, is that a stage name or is that your actual name?
Yes. No, that is 100% a stage name.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
Yes, sir.
Name, how did the moniker come about? Have you had your stage names that you went by, and if you have, how long has this moniker been in place?
Okay, so starting off with like, have I had different stage names? So like, I started off when I first started like actually getting into like sitting with people and like kind of making music. I had a homie who got me into the music and stuff, and he went by Dirty. So I had the idea, okay, you go by Dirty, let me go by Filthy. So that was kind of what it was, and that name carried on. I mean, it's still my name. Like everybody calls me Filthy, really, like when it comes to it. But like, that was kind of like poetry and stuff like that. So I would go like, I carried that on. I was like, okay, I kind of want to change up my name a little bit, and I was like, what can I take inspiration from? So I love like cult serial killer shit, and then I like horror movies. So the Malachi comes from Children of the Corn. It was one of the characters in Children of the Corn.
Yes.
And then the Manson comes from Charles Manson.
Okay, Charles Manson. I was wondering because I'm
Yeah.
like, I didn't think of Charles Manson. I was initially thinking of Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson. I've had a handful of people ask me that. It's like, they say, I love that music too. Like, I grew up heavy metal, pop punk. Like, I love grunge. I love all that shit. But like, people will be like, is it Marilyn? I'm like, no, it's Charles Manson.
Okay. All right. Okay. So that's cool. All right. I would not have thought of that, but that definitely actually, and also the fact that your name is Filthy, that makes lines in the music overall for all those stuff that I heard makes sense, because I'm like, why does he keep saying this thing like, oh, your body's filthy or something? I can't remember exactly what the tag is, but it's like, but I'm like, that is so random. Like, that is such a cool, but like, where did he come up with that? Now that answers it so much more, but we'll get into that later. So that's cool. Okay. So then, and now it remind me or correct me if I'm wrong, but Malakai is the main bad child in the Children of the Corn movie. He's like the main kid who's like the main leader bad guy. Okay. The really creepy looking one. Okay. So now what was it about? Because obviously that movie was what, 1986, 85, somewhere, like it was in the later 80s. Like, in the sense of like, what was it about that movie about that made it like that was the thing that you got that first part of your name from? What was the significance to it?
I think I was just trying to go with something like super demented and super creepy, because that's like kind of what a lot of my music is, especially the stuff that I'm doing now. It's like super dark and just super, super like I like the idea of being like a demented figure. So I'm like,
Okay.
okay, what can
Okay.
I do? It's like, of course, Charles Manson is a fucking like one of the most infamous like figures. So I'm like, okay, I'm definitely gonna use that. And then the Malachi,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this kid literally just started a cult and then killed everybody. Why not use that? It kind of correlates with the Manson shit. He started a cult and he
Right.
killed people too.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. And so now
Yeah,
let me ask you this, and let me take it in a similar direction, but in the sense of focusing on the Charles Manson side a little bit, because in the sense of like, obviously you and I were, not around in the world when that was all initially going on
yeah,
actively, like in the 70s when it was happening. But in the sense of like some of the movies and shows and different things that have come out after the fact, like, like I think it was Showtime or whatever it was, but like that, that show that was all about the different serial killers, and they made them like, oh, we're going to actually have an actor that plays this person and type of thing. Or like,
okay,
or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where that movie was
okay.
all around that time frame, and an aspect of the movie is based around that. Charles Manson as the figure and the person, is that somebody that like the pieces of media and stuff wrapped around that, do you follow that, or is it more just kind of him as this bigger figure in the sense of like, oh, why he's famous and something like that, or do you actually like the stuff around him as a person as well?
It was basically like the mysteriousness of the whole thing. It's like, why did he
Gotcha.
say the why was he doing the stuff that he did? Why did he say the stuff that he did? Like I could care less about like all the media and stuff like that. Like
Right.
I do think that the media did try to twist a lot of the stuff that he did and stuff like that, but at the same time, he did what he did. Like, the dude's not he's not fucking sane, and he's not a good dude. But on another note,
Right.
his music is actually really fucking good.
Okay, so
So that's
Charles
kind of what did
Manson
it too.
put out music.
Yeah, he was actually like I think he
Oh
talked
wow.
about in one of his like interviews or something that he did like a audition to be a Beatle, and like all of the Beatles and like a lot of that stuff was like heavily influenced in his music. It sounds exactly like the Beatles, honestly.
Wow. I literally had no idea that he did music. I mean, I obviously it sort of makes sense that yeah, the stuff you hear about him is not going to be around that, but I'm sort of amazed that in the stuff I have just heard over my life, I'm sort of amazed I've
Yeah,
never just heard that anecdote. That is really, really
if
interesting.
I'm not mistaken, he had the aspirations of being a musician before everything else happened. And I think because of, the circumstances of the shit not turning out the way that he wanted it to, kind of led up to him doing what he did and stuff. But like, yeah, he was just like, I don't know, bro. There's so many documents. I like actually watching like the interviews with them. So like, there's a handful of
Yeah.
documentaries that they did with him before he passed away or whatever, and
Mhm.
they're fucking amazing interviews. But yeah, that dude was nuts.
Okay, interesting. I will have to go take a look at that, because I wrote down like, oh, Charles Manson music, you can find that, and then I will take a look at some of those interviews. So I appreciate that. Okay, so then let's take a look at that, and so let's go back to the naming convention and the moniker again really quickly, because you started out as Filthy, and
Yeah,
you make several references in your music, but more like a tagline as opposed to like you actually saying a line that is part of the song. But in the sense of, when was it that you stopped going by Filthy and then like officially said, I want to try to be able to have a new name and something that people are going to, I want them to now know me by this? Like, when did that change happen in that shift?
pretty much when I stopped doing poetry shows and stuff like that, we had
Okay.
just a lot of like it was like a lot of falling out with like stuff that happened like in the music scene. Our music scene is very tainted, and
Hmm.
rap rap artists don't get a lot of like opportunities, let alone like any at all. And at the time we were kind of doing our own thing, but at the same time we were
Yeah.
being used to fulfill a pedophile's dream, basically, if you want me to moral of the story. So like it was just a bunch of shit going
Mhm.
on and stuff like that, and we got caught up in the middle of it. Everything fell through, and we're still trying
Yeah.
to kind of bounce back and just do our own thing. We got some opportunities and some stuff coming up in Austin in May, and
Nice.
but yeah, like getting back to the to the question, it's just like, yeah, after I stopped doing the poetry stuff, I was like, okay, I want to kind of change this up a little bit and kind of build another alter ego off this stuff and kind of go with that and see what I can do creatively. Because I think it did help me in a creative sense too, because it helped me
Mhm.
broaden my spectrum with different sounds and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay, I like that. I really like that. Okay, and so now when you were doing more of the poetry stuff, and let me ask you this, and again, we're gonna it'll segue us a little bit more into talking about the music, talking about some of the themes and some of the content, but with the type of music that you make, and like you said, the last album was more lo-fi, this one's more trap metal and that type of sound.
Yeah.
So when you were doing the poetry slams and the stuff like that in the past, when you were actually going and like giving the poetry, was it in the vein and in a similar type of style as the music you make now? Or was it like totally like, oh, nope, when I used to do that, I talked about rainbows and bunnies. And now it's like I just shifted gears to the other side? Or did you always kind of stay in that vein, but just were more doing poetry about it as opposed to music?
No, it was the same like the
Okay.
same feel, the same substance, I guess you could say. Like yeah, I've always been talking about like the same stuff as far as like I used to like do a lot of mental health advocacy stuff like that too. So it's like
Oh,
heavy
wow.
on the heavy on the like talking about my struggles with like addiction and just like stuff that I go through day by day, being manic depressive bipolar and stuff like that, and just
Interesting.
yeah, that also comes with like you I don't know, you'll hear a lot of that stuff in my music. That's basically like 100% of what my music is like my struggles with
Right.
substance abuse and then like just daily mental health shit.
Gotcha. Okay, interesting. Okay, that I really like that you went into that, and we will definitely tap into that a little bit later. So then when you were doing the poetry stuff, and I just it's just interesting now, especially that you say that okay, the vibe and the theme and the style was still that, to at that point.
Hmm.
So was there anything that changed in the mindset or in the creative process in going about it when you were trying to be able to put together, a poem in that vein at the time and then moving over to music? Like, did you have to do any type of mental or creative shifts in creating the music as to doing poetry? Or was it mostly just, I just started turning that poetry and putting it into a beat and boom, now you have Malakai Manson? Like,
It,
or was there something different you
yeah,
put into it?
it was a little bit of that. It was just kind of dipping the toes in the water and just kind of seeing what you could get out of it and stuff like that. And then like once I actually kind of figured out what I wanted to do, it was just going from there. But like, at first I really didn't know where to start at all. Like I started on BandLab and actually doing over like jazz loops and stuff like that. So like just like heavy like Alchemist Earl Sweatshirt influence and stuff. So just like jazz loops with no drums, no bass whatsoever or whatever, and then just doing
Mhm.
poetry over those loops, and then like slowly graduated to putting drums over the stuff at a slower pace and like build up to like a I love boom bap and stuff like that. So like I started doing
Yeah.
more stuff over boom bap stuff, and then yeah, it just listening to like Lucky and then listening to like Earl Sweatshirt, and it's like kind of taught me how to rap over like trap beats and stuff like that too.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Nice. I like that. Okay. So then tell me a little bit more, go into a little bit more detail about the shift. So you are trying to now like, and not in the sense like, oh, you just stopped wanting to do the poetry stuff, but you're like, okay,
Yeah,
I see, people doing music, I see these rappers, and I want to, walk down that pathway. I want to see how far into that
yeah.
open door I can take it. So what was there something that happened during that time, or was there a reason that kind of you made that shift to want to move it into music? Or was it just like, man, I think this looks cool and I just am going to do it?
So I think what it was too is like around a lot of the shows that I was doing weren't
Mhm.
specifically poetry slam shows. They were like
Okay.
shows being put on by people that I knew in the like music scene who had storage buildings and stuff, and like would throw
Cool.
rap shows and raves and all types of stuff in there. So I would go and do stuff over there. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm doing like poetry in front of a bunch of gangster rappers and like all this shit. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna actually come back
Right.
one day and like have some stuff over some beats and stuff and like kind of change it up a little bit. Like, yeah,
Cool.
I guess that's
Okay.
kind of what it was. I just wanted to change it up. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe the poetry stuff, is cool for certain audiences and stuff, but I have done like actual poetry slams where people actually are a little bit
Totally.
more in tune with like, what I'm trying to do and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
kind of like
Okay.
I didn't necessarily get tired of it. I still do poetry stuff with the lo-fi, like I kind of mix
Yeah.
it in. But
Cool.
yeah,
Okay, nice. I like that. All right. Okay, so then now we see the shift. And so now what I wanted to be able to do, and let me pull up now, we're not going to listen to any another direct song right now, but what I wanted to be able to do was just kind of a little bit like go into some of the the music, get into a little bit more of the content, and just kind of talk about and come back to that idea that you talked about, especially about that piece. I want to hear definitely more about the idea, mental health advocacy and all that type of stuff, because when I was going through, and and you guys know, like every time I will always go through every artist whole catalog so that I can be able to really live with the music and understand who the artist is as the artist, but also try to be able to really like hear the lyrics and get into them and be like, okay, what are they telling us? What are they saying? Like, what is their story that they're trying to get across? Is it always trying to be really, really deep and meaningful, or is it just a bunch of, like when we had YVB on, for his interview, he's like, yeah, it's just a lot of fast food rap, like tastes good, it sounds good, it feels good, but hey, you know what? Is it really going to make you a lot stronger? Are you going to get, healthy because of it? All right, maybe not. Like, you're not going to, win a Pulitzer by listening to that, but it's also fun and easy. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with fun and easy. And when I was listening to Malakai's music, when I was going through, all of these different releases that he's had, from, the very last one to, all the way to the first, that he released about a year and a half ago. And when we're taking a look at some of these, I just want to be able to kind of give you guys, just think about what we're seeing here and just kind of get that idea in your mind about like, okay, this is probably the type of vibe or the style that we're going to hear, but let the thoughts just rot. It is what it is. A long lost fallen angel, motionless, resurrection seems satisfying, all eyes wide, and I love, this is my favorite cover art, I think that is gorgeous, but
yeah, it's a good
at
one.
war with my mental, and then my death has been granted. So in a general way, and you kind of had already tapped into it a little bit, but I wanted to be able to kind of get a little bit more info and just give us a little bit more background, because you're like, you're really into the horror movies. The Manson part of your name comes from Charles Manson, and a
Yeah,
lot of the theme and a lot of the vibe and the veins that those album titles are called, or just in general, a lot of the individual song names, they do tend to have a darker undertone to them. Some of the themes and some of the lyrical content you talk about, definitely gets dark and more on that, okay, he's talking about this side of life as opposed to this other side of life, so
yeah.
you have a vein that you like to focus on. So talking about that mental health advocacy stuff, like where does that line blur for you in the sense of what some of the actual content in your songs are, and then
Mhm.
also the idea of like mental health advocacy? Because there are certain lines in there where I'm like, oh, that's like actually like pretty dark, like, little bit like, you're not even like maybe like violent in a sense, but almost like the idea of violence against yourself to a way.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
when it comes to the music that you're actually saying, and like, some of the stuff you've talked about, like where does that line go for you in the sense of like, I'm going to put this in the song, but I want to do it in a way that's like, I'm trying to be able to put out a message or do this. Like, how do you be able to blend that when you're actually writing and putting the lyrics out on a piece of paper or whatever it is that you do directly?
So in my eyes, really, there's not necessarily much of a like a line. It's more so kind of like I feel like a lot of stuff that I say, or really that anybody could say in like any kind of sense, is like interpreted in different ways. So
Yeah.
like So like if I say like I have definitely have a lot of lines where I'm talking about like me killing myself or like, you know, like
Yeah.
I don't know, fucking drop kicking somebody or some shit like that. I don't fucking know, just random stuff like that. But like
Yeah.
um I feel like it's also a line of like me trying to fit like my personality into like the
Mhm.
music, but also keeping it like on the lines of like the mental health stuff with talking about like
Yeah.
the depression, the fucking substance abuse, like all that stuff. Like I kind of want to show multiple like yeah, kind of like you said multiple sides of it, but like at the same time there's not like a much of a bright side, like a bright feel to it. It is dark. It's very
Yes.
like kind of
Yes.
has a twisted feel to it, but like
Yeah.
that's kind of like the aesthetic or like what I'm going for. Like
Yes.
I do
Okay.
feel like that it kind of does sound a bit redundant talking about like, you know, mental health advocacy, but I'm over here talking about killing myself and doing drugs and like, you know, doing that shit.
Right.
But like, I don't
Well,
know.
and I
I
think,
feel
and
like it's
that's, yeah.
interpreted. I feel like it can be interpreted multiple
Yeah.
ways and stuff like that. People are gonna. It is
Yes.
like that one project is titled like it is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
you know, people are gonna take it certain ways. If it helps somebody, then it helps them. If people don't like it, that they don't like it. Fuck
Yeah.
them. I don't care anyway.
Well, and I mean, and I do agree with that because I think that, and again, you know, you guys, anybody that's watching, anybody that watches this later, I think that, you know, one of the most important things is, or at least within my job in doing this show and getting ready for every artist that I interview, is that I feel like it is also part of my responsibility to not only just listen to the music, but just have to be able to go to that next level deeper and say,
Yeah,
okay, am I actually thinking that every single song is, you know, this, and not these songs, but just in general, like, oh, if this was more going back to that idea about, you know, like fast food rap, like, okay,
yeah,
yep, I definitely know exactly what this is. And if I can tell myself, yep, that is what this song I'm trying to make is, or that is what this artist is to me, and I listen to them solely for that reason, whatever. Like if you can admit that to yourself, then that's good. But if you have to go that next level down and be like, okay, wait a minute, is he actually saying these things as like, oh, I want to tell you to go do this? Like, no. And when you listen to
no,
the lyrics, I'm like,
yeah,
he's definitely not saying, oh, go do this, or go and not do this. It is very much so like, oh, I'm gonna put this out, I'm gonna say this line, and I am going to see how you interpret it. And I
yeah,
actually
a
really do
hundred
like that
percent.
because you had a lot, because you have a line in a few songs, and I think it's probably one of the most of all the songs that you have, but just this theme that comes back around. And for some reason, for me, it was powerful in the moment when I heard it. And I might get the direct, like I might have a, you know, exact word wrong, but basically kind of the idea of like, oh, kick over my coffin, you know, and light it on fire and watch my body burn. And there's something about that idea that you say that in the music several times and in a lot of different songs that's like, I don't know, it had this powerful message to it, but yet it didn't have like this automatic like, oh, I don't like he's talking like that, or oh wow, okay, I can't believe he went there type of a thing. But it felt like this is a honest truth of you, and then you're just putting it out in the music.
Yep, a
But
hundred percent.
it is done, but it is done in a way that it is like it does feel like you are trying to write it like you are trying to win a Pulitzer. Like you are not writing like you're trying to just give you a bunch of nonsense fast food rap. The lyrics don't seem like that. The content doesn't seem like that. And like you said, your path, your vein, you know, your you know, kind of, oh, I'm going to be in this lane. It just happens to be more dark and more, you know, on that side of aspects of life. And so I think it is really powerful, but I think it is one of those where it's like I could see what you mean by some people will listen to this and not like it
No,
because
a hundred
you
percent,
have
a
more of
hundred
that negative
percent.
aspect, and I could see that, but at the same time I think that that is the difference for me, that I'm like, you know what, no, you have to live with this as if like you're
Yeah,
making this music too, and then get this level of understanding with it. So then let's take some of the things you said a few minutes ago, and I wanted to get your take on this. And this is something that I had a question because of something you said. This was not one I already had ready to go.
okay.
So you talked about, you know, having the you know, the bipolar and some of those other like disorders, in the sense that some of those things, even with medication, even with, therapy and all that type of stuff, like it can just hit you in a moment and hey, you're not ready for it and you're not able to just always be ready to control it in that time frame.
Yes, sir.
So for you, in the sense of your lyrical content and thinking about that idea of like that nature of one side or the other, and now I could be 100% this way or 100% the other way, maybe I'm in the middle now, but it's never just I'm regulating it on my own. Like it could change in a moment.
100%.
Is there anything about your lyrical content that you do like that also almost even on purpose or because of how it comes out? Like, is there anything about any of those aspects of, those struggles and those things that you deal with? How does that come out in the lyrical content? How do you actually creatively get to release that when you're making the music? Give us a little bit more about that.
So, like I had said, I'm manic depressive bipolar. So a lot of the content that I put out is very manic. It's just like if you listen to a lot of the stuff that I've done recently too, it's more so just like I'm using different tones with my voice and projecting my voice in a different way. I'm trying to think how to like explain it basically, but I don't know, especially with like the more lyrical content too. I think it's like I'm trying to be a little bit more outlandish, like with some of the stuff that I say, especially on the upcoming stuff, and then like it's just very sporadic. Like I don't necessarily like if I go into making a song, like there's most of the time I write and stuff like that, but a lot of the stuff that I've been doing, I've been like doing punch-in freestyles or like freestyling in general, and then I'll have like the basis for a song, and then I'll just go in and sporadically fucking freestyle and punch stuff in, and then just put songs together that way. So it's done very it's done very weirdly, but like the process that I have down and the kind of routine works for what I'm trying to do. So like, I don't know.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. I like that. So then now let me ask you this. Now let's take that maybe another level deeper and let's think about a little bit of like your creative process, but in the sense of let's take it to the idea of like, like you talked about, manic depressive, bipolar, that type of thing. Is there ever that moment or in the sense of a situation that's going on with you in your life that, if I'm having this happen, I'm more likely now to want to use the creative process and writing music or doing something about that to release some of that?
Yeah.
Or do you just you're just always writing and creating kind of all the time? Like, is there anything about any of those you're like, okay, this is happening. Now let me focus on music so I can keep the focus on that and release it in that way as opposed to something else?
Yeah, I would definitely say that I try to stay as focused as I can when it comes to it, working on a project. But then again, I find times where like it's just me kind of not necessarily like throwing stuff together, but like kind of trying to find out a way to piece everything together where it's gonna make it sound cohesive and like I do a lot of like just no hook stuff. So I'll just rap over the beat, but like it's nice every once in a while to make a song with like a hook and stuff like that and kind of put together something that's actually a little bit more actually like cohesive in that sense.
Yeah, agreed. No, I agree. And so now one of the things you had talked about earlier, going back to that idea of like your past projects and what some of your stuff you talked about sounded like, 7, 8, 9 months, a year ago, and then the things within the last, 1 to 3 months. And, some of the aspects you talked about was like, it felt like some of the songs were rushed, blah, 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 blah.
So.
Now, for you individually, now, is that in the moment, do you also feel like you were actually rushing it too? Or is that more like, now that I've improved, those songs just feel like, in the moment I maybe got them out too quickly?
A little bit of both.
Is it
a little bit of both.
A little bit of both. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
More so going it back and looking on it. Like I think it's a little bit, it's like 75-25, like going back and listening to a lot of this stuff. I'm like, okay, I really shouldn't have put this out. Like I should have just taken the handful of songs that were good and just put those out and kept all these like as throwaways or like something else and like come back to them later. Like I do that a lot now where put something down and I'm like, okay, I like what I'm doing, but maybe it's not there. Let me come back to it and then go back. And like I'm also learning how to do layers and stuff. Like I find doing layers for my vocals helps a lot with like the sound, and then just like what kind of vibe I'm trying to get with. I don't know. It just helps. It just helps in general. Like just learning new
Totally.
stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, so then let's think about that then as well. You know, we're right now just at, you know, the 4th of February, so we're still right at the beginning of the year. You know, we've really just had January end. So thinking about 2025 for you. Now we know you talked about, you know, the brand new project that's coming out on Valentine's Day. And, you know, any new projects, you know, we'll definitely talk about those as well, you know,
Yeah.
in a little while. But for you, 2025 and future state, what would you say is a low level, like I am going to accomplish this in 2025, like at a 90% like guarantee, almost I can like promise it's going to happen, and then give me like a higher level, if I don't get this year, I'm okay with it, but a big goal is to do X. Like, what would that be for you? Like a low level, I will accomplish it in 25, and then maybe like a 2 to 3 year goal. But if I get it done this year, like boom, like I'm
Yeah.
killing it at life. Like, what's that for you look like?
So doing shows, like we got a couple of shows, or we got like a few shows, maybe a few shows
Nice,
lined up. We already got one that's for sure in May in Austin. That's the
nice.
23rd of May in Austin. But
Okay.
definitely shows, and then like as far as like bigger aspirations,
Yep.
throwing our own show. And also like
Nice.
I'm a huge wrestling fan, so like I want to
Okay.
integrate some backyard wrestling into like the show for entertainment and stuff like that. That's really what I want to do within the next couple of years when it comes to it. It's like have the stuff to where we can throw our own show every maybe like 6 months or something like that, and then integrate some entertainment within the
Hell
show
yeah.
like that and stuff too.
I like that idea about the wrestling. I mean, I am not as much of a wrestling guy in the sense of like, but I when you think about those
Yeah,
two things put together, I'm like, that is actually like peanut butter and jelly right there. That is
yeah,
a
bro.
great
Yeah,
combo,
bro.
amazingly enough. So okay, I really like that. And I think that now let me ask you that, because I think that the goal actually is, I think even the high level goal feels, I'm like, oh, that's actually a pretty good attainable high level goal too. So I really like that you went to something that was like, you know, felt
Kind of
achievable in that
realistic. Kind
way.
of realistic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
realistic in a way. Yeah, but that's why I always ask for two, because I'm like, you know what? I don't even need it to be hardcore realistic.
Yeah.
But if you said in this year I want to become bigger than Beyonce, I'd be like, all right, that might be a little tall of a task, but you never know. But in a general
Yeah.
way, like I like that both of those are definitely much more realistic. So if we're thinking about that more bigger goal, throwing your own show, and you talked about the Underside label, and I want to talk more directly about that a little bit later, but
Yes, sir.
thinking about that for you, what would you say in this moment right now is the biggest obstacle, or the thing that you know you'll need to figure out to make that the reality, where you can throw your own show, get the entertainment? Like,
Um,
what do you think is your biggest obstacle in the way?
So one, I'm unemployed right now, so I have to find a job, and that's another big thing
Okay.
is like keep finding a job and being able to keep that to be stable, and then like getting the funds
Totally.
situated, getting the people who want to invest in stuff, get them together, this and that, and like
Yeah.
really ground up stuff, building a stage, like really, yeah, like doing it really from the ground up and like doing it our way.
Cool. Nice. I like that. Okay. I like that. I mean, and that, you know, and that's a big deal. I mean, that
Yeah.
is definitely very important, because a
So
lot of times you're not able to keep this going if you don't have any money to keep the music
no,
moving.
most definitely. Before we go forward, do you mind if I take like a minute to use the restroom real quick?
Absolutely. Yes. Please, please, please. Yes. Actually,
Okay.
I'll play some music for them while you're gone, and then we'll come back and play another one.
All right, that's a bit, bro.
Awesome. All right, guys. So let me pull up some music, and I will play a different song, not one of the direct three that I was going to, but I will pull up another one that I actually really do like from some of the albums that I listened to all of the music, but one of the ones that I had just recently heard. Yes, it was on this one. Let me just pause this really quick. Oh no, actually, nope, it was this one. So guys, this is one of the songs on the now I think this is I don't know, I believe, but I don't want to 100% verify that that's exactly what it is, but I believe that that is what the name of the and the name of the album is Complacent, but this song is called I Don't Know, I Don't Know.
One day I can see your face. I was told it wouldn't be that way. It wouldn't be that way. I've been on my way. I've been on my way.
All right, guys. So I just wanted to be able to play a little bit of that. That is from also another previous album. And I actually think it's kind of funny how you talk about like, oh, yeah, my stuff from like, a year to like 6 months ago, I just don't think it's as good. And yet all of like my favorite songs are all from like the older stuff as opposed to like some of the brand new stuff.
That album is one of my favorites, honestly. Though I think that one was around Halloween time. Honestly, I think I made that album. I did a little bit of a stint in a psych ward back in like mid-year or so. So that project I think I had wrote shortly after I had a couple months after I had got out of there and stuff like that. So it's like I was trying to go for a little bit of something different with like I don't know, that like kind of had like a R&B-ish kind of vibe to it, and then there's a handful of other songs on there that are just really, really good too.
Yeah, well, and that was actually one that I had because and again, like if it's somebody like last week when we had A-Dot on, I mean he had like 7 or 8 songs out, so I just got to live with every single song, listening to it like 10 times in a row. But with yours, you have so much music out that I'll have to be like, okay, on like last week on like Wednesday, let me listen to 2 or 3. Then every day, like listen to some and some and some. So today, like that was just one of the ones that I had heard for the first time. And I remember I was like, whoa, okay, like this one is cool. Like I like how it had, a little bit of that hint of auto-tune thrown in there, but it was a little bit more of like a almost like a hip hoppy pop song as opposed to, more on that other side. So I'm like, oh, okay. So you do throw in these random, like totally different vibe songs. And that was
very
just
much
what I really
so.
liked.
I do like to experiment. I do like to experiment every once in a while. So that album was that project was definitely like very, very experimental. It's just me kind of trying to see if I could, get in touch with a different vibe and stuff like that. Most of the project is like pretty auto-tune heavy.
Really? Oh, cool. Okay, nice.
But
Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that.
yeah, majority of the songs on the last part of the album are like it's auto-tune rap basically, but it's like it's not like the auto-tune rap that you would think it is though. Very lo-fi-ish, just very lo-fi-ish.
Yes, it almost in a way feels, and not even in that you guys are like singing, that you're trying to have like pitch correction, but it doesn't sound. It almost just sounds like, oh, they just have like this flutter of like just I don't know how exactly to explain it, but like if you are trying to like sing and you just can't exactly hit that final like note, or you just need that edge taken off and it just smooths it out, like it just sounds more like that as opposed to you're trying to change and manipulate the sound of your voice to give it a different style. So thinking about that, and really quickly before we go into the second song, because this was a question that somebody had asked on last week's episode, and I actually thought it was really cool the way they asked it, and now I'm like, oh, I'm going to keep using that as a standard question but for you, what and this doesn't even have to be something that you're trying to do in 2025 or just in
Okay.
general, but like if you were trying to experiment again, what would be a type of music or a vibe that you would try to do that you think would be something surprising that people would not consider that you would do?
Um, so hyperpop
Okay.
and then and then like was like I want to say like screamo and then like metal rap, like, or not metal but like rock shit, but like I kind of do a little bit of like screamo like with the trap metal stuff, but like I would say like yeah, kind of like more metal stuff, like Slipknot influence type shit, and then like yeah,
Okay.
some kind of like soft type rock stuff, like a Nirvana
Okay.
grunge kind of vibe maybe or something like that. But yeah,
Okay. So the t-shirt says it all. Like it. All right.
yeah. And then
So
I forgot, I
now
didn't even realize that I was wearing it, so that's funny.
so then now if you were thinking about the idea of, that Slipknot vibe, because when you listen, and guys, when you go back and listen to Malakai's music after the fact, I mean, your voice definitely has a very direct like sound. Like you're not trying to be boy band high and give us, notes and like you are definitely like, your
Yeah.
registry is a little bit lower, even just the way you talk now too, where I'm like, oh, okay, so you do talk in that lower registry too. So
Yes,
that's not like,
I'm
something you're
very monotone. I'm very monotone, so I try to use that to my advantage when it comes to it too. But I'm also learning how to project my voice and use different tones and stuff like that, like I had said earlier.
so then if you were thinking about going more on that rock side and and I only asked if you say Slipknot and I'm like, oh well, Corey Taylor has a very, very distinct voice and a
Yes, very much so.
gorgeous voice. So now would you try to also be in that like that monotone lower gravel type of sound, or would you try to be able to maybe go into a different registry to push out different sound and that vibe of like, oh well, let me give it a rock as opposed to like more of that undertone for the hip hop that can work a lot better.
Yeah, I was thinking just go with the monotone stuff and see what I could do with it, but like also
Nice. Yeah.
kind of like I was like I don't know, learn like I don't know. I see a lot of like reels and stuff on Tik on Instagram, and it'll be like it's like core music, but it's like deathcore some shit, pig core or something like that, and it'll just be nothing but like pig squeals and stuff like that. So it's like I don't know, maybe like incorporate like other sounds like that, but with like
Mm,
that kind of like metalish grungish tone to it, and just try to make something like that,
interesting.
like very
That'd be
incoherent
cool.
shit. Just yeah, just noise, literally just noise.
Interesting. Okay. That would be very, very much like a good concept album. I think that's pretty cool. All right, guys. So
Yeah.
now I wanted to be able to shift gears. Let's go back to the music again. Let me pull my banners back up because I wanted to be able to play the next song. And I was deciding between these two because, just with with how the interview's been going and just, we've definitely been able to talk about some really, really cool stuff tonight. So I think Mercy is going to be the next song that I'm going to play tonight.
Mm.
And this is also from the same, or I'm sorry, this song,
Ooh, I
and
know which
then
one you're talking
supposed
about.
to be, yeah. So this song and Molasses, these are both from the same album. And I don't know what it was. This was probably my favorite album in the sense of all of the different full projects that were out there. And this one is the now I feel like I'm going to get the name wrong. The Resurrection one.
Resurrection seems satisfying. I did all that on
Resurrection.
BandLab
Yes.
too.
Did you really? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and most
See,
of them,
now that's
yeah.
always because that's something now I don't usually think about asking it as much because of the fact that it's like I don't use BandLab, so I don't usually think about it in the general way, but it does make it more impressive because then I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, like man, you are just doing this on like the computer and on your phone and
And
like
and
wow,
the
like that
the
is impressive.
crazy thing about all of that stuff is like that project too I was doing. I think that project was the one where I was still doing poetry loops, and then there's the one song, I think it is
Oh wow.
Mercy, that has like
Yeah.
a boom bapish feel.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
then
And so guys,
yeah,
oh
it's
sorry.
all that stuff is like unmixed too. Like it's all. Oh yeah,
Wow,
there is that
really?
song too. That song, right? Well, hold on. Maybe this one isn't the one that I'm thinking of. I can't remember,
What
bro. I
was the
put out
direct
so
song you
much
were
stuff.
thinking about?
I
Well,
don't know.
you
I
do
just
have a
can't
lot.
remember. Yeah, I just can't. I get
Gotcha.
lost. Mm.
Well, maybe if you come back to it, let me know, and then we can be able to go and play it. But again, you guys, I wanted to play this next song for you. This is called Mercy.
Yeah, this okay. This is the one that I thought that. Okay, okay, okay.
Hey, I'm a mysterious presence, present in the land of the lost. The fallen angel said to be a god in any split second, be crucified before your very eyes. Yeah, burned at the stake, smoking dank, cleansed with the sage by the witches, sentenced to my death wish. I'ma make sure there's a witness to see my sacrifice. Inglorious, I'm a bastard. I will be victorious through all of this disaster. Constant catastrophic events, the ball dropping, time's come to an end. Lay me face first in this casket so I can't see my loved ones' reactions in the afterlife. I know it sounds selfish, but I just can't help it. Time and time again, I should be crucified for my sins. Washed away at the mercy of the devil, the grasp of the flame scorching my skin. Let my demise begin. The light is getting dim, yo. Let my demise begin. The light is getting dim. I'm a mysterious presence, present in the land of the lost. The fallen angel said to be a god in any split second, be crucified before your very eyes. Burned at the stake, smoking dank, cleansed with the sage by the witches, sentenced to my death wish. I'ma make sure there's a witness to see my sacrifice.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
All right. And again, you guys, come on. You know how I love to be able to do it, just a little bit of that tease. But the reason that I wanted to be able to play this song is because, and it's not that you do this a lot in the music, but I think that this is one of the most like beautiful dichotomies of the difference of all the other songs in this album, especially. And then you end it with this, but that beautiful piano note and just that girl's voice that you sample at the beginning, and just how that kind of comes in throughout the song. And again, like, but when you hear the content, when you listen to the lyrics and you're actually like hearing it for the third or fourth time, like you're like, oh wow, okay, you're still going on giving us this story and the darker side of things, but yet you've got it surrounded by this beautiful
Yeah,
beat, by this beautiful instruments, and by this woman's beautiful voice. And you have all of this beauty surrounding this idea of like something that maybe what I'm talking about directly maybe isn't as beautiful, but everything around it is too. And so again, it's that beautiful dichotomy of what the content is, but everything wrapped around it. So it's like it's so hard to take the song in one way. You have to, like, you're taking it in all of these things. So that's the reason why I wanted to play that. But give us an idea, because also too, I mean, you changed up your style and your cadence was different, and you
yes.
definitely went about, like, your creative process had to have been a little bit different in the sense of getting the beat, putting, being, I mean, not in the sense of like, your studio space there that you're there at, like, when you're
Yeah.
there and putting it together, like it definitely felt like a different song. So give us a little bit more of the background of how this one came together, and when you're trying to put more of these beautiful type of instruments together, how do you think about it differently, or is there anything, for your creative process that was different about this song maybe than some of the other ones on this album?
So that song, I had met another producer on Instagram. I honestly cannot remember the dude's name because I don't even like that's like he just sent me the beat, and then like I really ain't talked to dude since. But like I kind of had the idea. I was like, okay, I like this like super angelic ass beat. I'm gonna put some like just like do me the kind of darker tone, but at the same time with that song too, it's like I was still trying to figure out like how to like you know actually put together a song and stuff like that. Like I feel like it was kind of me just reading the lyrics. They're like I feel like I could have done a lot better with the flow, like the
Mhm.
mixing aspect of everything too. Is a lot of what we've been working on with that. Like
Okay.
like I said, shout out to my boy Smitty for that one. But yeah, it's a good song from the lyrical aspect of it, but I feel like I could have done a lot better with it for sure.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. And I mean, and that's the thing that I think though is important. I mean, I think that it is important for every artist to be able to look at their own stuff through a relatively critical eye,
Yeah,
but also be very proud of it no matter what, in the sense of when you are putting it out. And I think that the way you talk about it is similar to how I talk about certain things, where I'm always very proud of everything that I put out, but I'm always looking to make the next thing better, or to do something that I didn't do on the last one, or accomplish something that I didn't try, or whatever. Like, I'm always looking to do the next thing, or constantly keep refreshing. And okay, well, we haven't done that in a while, or we, boom, we did this just the last album, like, let's not focus on that again, that type of thing. So for you, in making this type of music, how often do you try to be able to bring in this idea of, like, let me put more of this, like, angelic, I think was the word you used, and it's a great word
yeah.
for it, that, like, that angelic type of beat, and then put, more of your vibe onto it. I mean, because it seems like it's definitely less, but, like, how often do you actively think about it?
I mean, yeah, quite often I would say, because like even like if I'm trying to do like another sound to like with a lot of the stuff that my homie Schmitty does, like it's like a lot of the stuff does have a brighter tone and stuff like that. Like
Mhm.
even if I'm gonna do something over one of those beats, I still have the same kind of like darker tone with the lyrics. And like
Yeah.
that's just something that I've always done. Like really, when it comes to it, like I don't if I'm rapping over a pop beat or something like that, like I'm still gonna have that kind of like tone with it, but I'm just gonna try to do it to where it fits and stuff like that. Like I'm just gonna always do what I want to do. Like I'm not trying to really fit with trends and like and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I can if I want to, but like I
Yeah.
don't know. I just like doing me. I like making what I
Yeah. No,
like to
for
make.
sure. Absolutely. So then let's also think about that too, and look at that other side of that coin really quickly, because if, or not if, has there been anything in your, thought process, in the sense of, again, always just thinking about it in that creative process, has there ever been any time that you've sat down and be like, I want to try to force myself to make
Yeah,
this type of song, or like, and like, and I mean, and not in the sense where, because, like, I think for you it's more, it's the implementation of aspects of the song. So, like,
yeah,
with that, with the first song that we listened to, with, supposed to be featuring, well, Exotic then, but Schmitty now, that it's
yeah,
like, for that song, he brought in a little bit of that auto tune. It had a little bit more of that pop vibe to it. It was, again, sort of, I think I get a theme when I'm listening to the artist, because I'm like, okay, your music, I like a little bit more of those hints of things that I enjoy, like a little bit of auto tune, or a little bit more of that poppy vibe, but yet you bring in your lyrical content and that aspect to it. And I really enjoyed that piece. But I'm starting to feel like, okay, that and Mercy and Molasses all sort of have that vein of you trying something a little bit different and putting in a different aspect. But
yeah.
what would that thought process be for you, if you were to say, like, I am legitimately going to try to turn into, for this 3 songs, or for this EP, or this next 6 months, or whatever it is, like, I want to become the Justin Timberlake version of Malachi Manson, whatever that would be. Like, what would be your content of type of things, if you just really wanted to shift gears, and have something else that, oh, and I also talk about this too, or blah blah blah, whatever. Like, what would that be for you? Like, have you ever thought about, like, if you had to think of different content, what would it be?
Um, Really, when it comes to it, it's just forcing myself to do it, because I like most of the time I say something, I say something and I don't do it. Like I'm a big procrastinator, so like I have an
Yeah.
idea and then I just don't do it, or like I have an idea and then I just completely forget, because I also have
Right.
fucking short term memory loss apparently. But like I don't know, bro. It's really just forcing myself to do it. Like if I have the mindset and I want to do it, then I'll do it. But like I don't know. Also, I think it's like the influences around me, because like a lot of the
Yeah.
influences that I have around me are complete different sounds, and then it's like I want
Yeah.
to step in and kind of mess with that. It's just I also don't really know where to start, and it's
Totally,
finding
totally.
like I don't like using YouTube beats, so it's also finding people who can make the specific beats and specific sound and like, you know, just I don't know, bro. I know everything's a process and stuff, and I kind of look at it like that too. It's like, I have to go out and search for the resources and that, and I just rather use the resources that I have within myself and like within my group and
Yeah.
stuff like that to get that shit done. So
No, and that makes sense. I mean, you've built up that foundation. That's the where you've put your time and energy into. And
yeah,
why should I have to make it different just because, people want to hear something else? So I mean, 100% that makes sense. And I think that
yeah.
and I just thought of something in the moment while you were saying that. And I will try to actively find a song for us to be able to do. And I will try to be able to be the one that forces you to try a
Hey,
different style,
now
but
that well,
I will
I
be able
would
to
love
get
to
the
do
beat.
that, bro.
I will put it all together and be like, here is the open, but it's going to be a different style. So I will try to be able to come up with something for us because I
Yeah,
do
bro.
have a
That's
lot of
that's a
open stuff
bit.
that I could be able to try right now. I will do that.
Yeah, because our
Okay.
sounds are two completely different sounds, so I would love to see how we could try to make something work in class, bro. That would be amazing for sure. That'd be a nice collab.
Exactly. That would be a very cool collab. That's going to happen in 2025. Everybody,
Hell
remember
yeah, hell
that
yeah.
in this episode. Okay, so now let's shift gears. Let's talk about Underside a little bit. And
Okay.
one of the things that I wanted to be able to also mention as well, especially because you've mentioned Smitty, a couple times now, and being a person that's also done music now for a while, and even though it's not the thing that I do to make money, but I do when I'm not doing the work thing that I do to do this, I am basically doing nothing but this. So it's like
Yeah,
I do spend my time and my energy and money to do this and make this more of a reality, like most of the time, not 100% everything, but a lot of it. And so when I think about that, and I think about, you as the artist, and I've interacted with Schmitty a couple times this week.
yeah.
He is a person that is on your side, and I'm
A
like,
hundred
whoa,
percent.
because
A hundred
you can
percent.
just tell, like the way he talked about certain things, like the way he was just like, you know, uh, not in the sense of like oh, wanted to know who I was, but just more so in the sense of like, oh yeah, like he is the way he does his show, or like what he's putting out there, like he is taking this seriously. Like this is actually like a good thing that you'll get, like not in the sense of that it's like, oh, you're coming on here thinking that you're getting something from this or whatever, but it's more just like, I want to be able to have the platform as
Yeah,
the thing where it's like, okay, fine, yeah, maybe you have been interviewed and maybe other people have done, other great interviews as well. But I want to also be right up there with anybody else that's been like, show me somebody who took more effort or time and got into the music in the way he did, or look at the questions that he talked about. Like, if nothing else, people will be like, well, at least he takes it very seriously. Like when
yeah.
I'm doing
That's
these
one
interviews,
thing.
like,
No, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, no, no,
one
no,
thing
please.
one thing that we're trying to do 2025 is take it to the next level with marketing promotions. Like he focuses on a lot of the management aspect of stuff. So like it's like, hitting up
Yeah,
venues and stuff, trying to get booked for shows and like yeah, posting music, making content, making reels.
yeah,
Yeah, they're just more so trying to focus on like the managing the artist aspect of the stuff, and then like, there's a handful of
totally.
us that are in the label and stuff like that. So it's like, I don't know, yeah, just trying to take it more serious this year with all that, like, broaden
Yeah,
the horizons.
for sure. So then how was it that you initially got connected into and started working with Underside?
Um, But I think it was an Instagram interaction on how we met to begin with, but then we just like slowly gradually worked to getting together and like getting in the studio and kind of seeing how like, things operate, and it just slowly gradually built up. I had him
Cool.
come out to a networking show that I was performing at and helping run and stuff around October of 2023. And yeah, we just like got connected that way, and then yeah, ever
Hmm.
since then it was just, locked in.
Cool. Okay, nice. I like that. Okay, and so now in the sense of Now, because and I'm asking this as a legitimate question. I have never been part of a label or signed to something like that. So let's talk and again, as much as you can, because I don't know, of what you could be able to say or not. But
Yeah.
in the sense of from the standpoint of the label and
Mhm.
you putting out music, especially for somebody like you, where you're putting out a lot of music and very consistently, in the
Yeah.
sense of how long you've been doing it for and how much actual legitimate out there music you can just go and find, because we've had people on here that have had, you know, less individual songs. Oh, but some of the individual songs had, way more plays, or like, oh, they've got,
Yes.
thousands of
Yeah.
plays or blah, 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 whatever. Or we've had, people that have had a massive catalog and it's all at a general this level or that level, like whatever. So for you as the artist and Underside as the label, what do they look at for a release as success, as a failure? What are some of those barometers and standpoints that you have to kind of maybe internally think about when you're putting out a new project? Like, okay, I want to try to be able to hit this target or blah blah
Yeah.
blah. Like, what are some of those things that equal success or equal we need to do better on the next one? How do you measure that for yourself, or how does the label also to you measure what they consider success?
Okay, so like with all the label stuff too, it's basically like all built from the ground up. So it's basically like, it's a brand new thing basically. So like
Okay,
2025, it's like, our basically our first year, like all cohesively, like actually taking it more serious from the marketing promo aspect of the stuff. But like
cool,
I
cool.
have I
Okay,
have free I have free reign on whenever I want to drop. So like I can drop right now if I wanted to. But like I'm also
gotcha.
kind
Okay.
of like, learning the process of like timing my drops and stuff like that, and also making like promotional content for the drops, kind of rolling stuff out, and working
Yes.
on getting collaborations. I'm doing a lot of collaborations as well, so we got a lot of stuff in the works right now, but like trying to get those
Cool.
out and stuff. Like, yeah, I have free reign to do whatever I want when it comes to stuff like that. Like, it's not like a real like serious thing. This is like something that we're trying to build up ourselves and get going.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Nice. Okay. That's cool. And I mean, and that's exactly why I wanted to be able to ask, because it's like, it might be that, or it might be like, oh, well, let me tell you, blah, 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 blah. If I don't hit, this target or that target. So, I mean, and that definitely makes a lot of sense. But that was also, also kind of for my own edification of just being
Yeah.
like, what are some of those barometers? Like, how do they measure success? What is it that they're looking at? So, okay, that's cool. So
And when
now,
it comes to that stuff, really, I haven't like, actually sat down and thought about like that. Like, I'm kind of getting in the habit of, trying to plan the drops and stuff like I was talking about. But like,
right, right.
I kind of just do stuff like manically out the spur. If I got an idea, then I'm gonna kind of go with that. But like, I don't really like kind of bad at planning stuff ahead of time.
Okay, gotcha. Well, and I mean, and I think it's more the new things you learn, and then you'll be like, oh, okay, and I
Yeah.
see success from that. Now let me try to be able to either push just more energy or money or focus into
It's
that
a
exact
yeah,
thing,
it's a lot of
just
watch
a
and
greater
learn.
percentage of it. Exactly. So then thinking about that idea, let's keep that right in the front of our minds, because it's a perfect segue. Thank you for setting it up so well. So when you have now been working with this new with Underside, and you, like you said, I am now actively trying to be able to take the marketing and the business side and some of those real life aspects a little bit more seriously, because yes, making the music is important and it is not unserious. But if you only ever take 100% of the music seriously and 0% of the business seriously, you will never succeed. You have to be able to at least understand some part of the business side to make it at least where, like, and my producer that I'm doing the next album with, I was just talking to him last week and he told me a really good statement. He was like, listen, it's not up to anybody else but you to get paid, and nobody else is ever going to try to be able to set something up for you if you're at that level
Okay.
and say, oh, and oh, by the way, let me figure out how I'm going to pay you. They're never
Yeah.
going to do that. But then if you're at that level where money's already on the table, then you've
Hmm.
already surpassed that foundational step of
Yeah.
needing to now ask people for, I have now done this, so now I'm worth X. type
Yeah,
of thing.
I
Like, you
definitely
do
want
enough
to.
of
I definitely want to get to that point. A lot of the stuff that I'm doing now is just because of the connections that I'm making with people. Like I'm really good at
gotcha.
networking and making connections with people. So like, if I make the
Good for you.
connections with the people, and I have a group chat and stuff like that too. So like, I'm trying to work within the group chat and stuff like that. And like, we've built a solid foundation and solid connection. So it's like showing the
Good deal.
love back and stuff like that, and then just working with whoever's down to work and stuff like that.
Cool. So then for you, in that mindset of taking all of the business side and some of the marketing and that and planning the drops and being more strategic about
Yeah.
your own marketing and releasing and how you are putting yourself out there as the artist, what is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned through that? And I mean, like, literally, like, oh, like, in a sense of like, oh, I went to class in a
Yeah.
way, like, not like, maybe not like legitimately, but like, oh, I didn't know a thing. Now I was taught this and I tried it and it worked well. Now I'm going to keep
Yeah.
trying to implement it. What's something like that that you've learned that you're actually like, I am now implementing this or going to implement this in the future? What's something like that that
Um,
you've learned that you feel has like been really important?
music videos and any kind of like visual content to go along with the music and stuff to help with promotion, to help with the marketing and
Yes.
stuff like that. But like just also something that like kind of puts a visual to the music as far as like some letting people see like I don't know, just let it be a little bit uh more out there than just having a song put out. Like, actually having a visual behind it kind of helps with like bringing a song to life. That's what I was trying to say.
Makes sense. Okay, I like that. So now okay, so two questions. Have you put out a music video up to this point?
Yes, I actually put out one at the beginning of the year for New Year's. It's called Lying in My
Really?
Grave. Yes, it's called Lying in My Grave. You can find that. And I think there is another one too. I'm not too sure. Illness by Malakai Manson. There's another one.
Okay, so I see. Oh, 1 month ago. Yep, this is it. Okay, let me just really quickly. That won't play, so we won't hear it in the background. All right. Now, would you want to play the video?
Yeah, 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 definitely.
Okay, so let's pull that up, guys. So I'm going to bring up the stage. So this is the music video that he was talking about. Now, is this the right one that I'm looking at here?
Yes, sir. This is off the most recent project at war with my mental.
Okay. Oh, so at war with my. Okay, see, when I
Yeah,
was looking at the YouTube, I thought those were in order. So I guess I thought At War with My Mental was an older one.
yeah. I don't.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. I see where you got confused. I don't know why the YouTube thing does it. It doesn't have any of it in order. It's just in alpha. It's in alphabetical order.
Okay. Okay. That's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I did really like that cover art though. I thought that was super dope. So, okay, but let's play this really quickly, guys, because I actually I totally forgot to ask Malakai about the fact, or well, I forgot to ask you in the sense because I just said that like that was your name. Apologies. But
No, you're good.
I forgot to ask you in the sense of did you have a music video out? So this is the
Yeah.
first time that all of us, except for our artist, of the night, Malakai Manson, is seen this. So this will be my first time watching it as well. So I'm excited, guys. So this is Lying in My Grave, Malakai Manson.
It's too late to wait, lying in my grave. It's too late to wait. Kill me now for heaven's sake. I know my lust is staying. Procrastinating away. On the verge of losing my life. I'm not scared to die. Blast my brains, I kill myself. In an instant, everything awaits. My death is repentant. Take my breath away. I'm so in that my soul has to plenish. My mental has to vanish. I see the mental images when I close my eyes. I see hieroglyphics when I'm staring at the sky. I don't know what my fate lies for shit on my demise. My fate lies for shit on my demise. My fate lies for shit on my demise. I don't know my fate lies for shit on my demise. It's too late to wait, lying in my grave. It's too late to wait, Kill me now for heaven's sake, but know my life's at stake. Procrastinating away, on the verge of losing my life. I'm not scared to die. It's too late to win, lying in my grave. It's too late to win. Kill me now for heaven's sake, but know my life's at stake. Resonating away.
Nice. All right, guys. And so that was just, now that we did play most of it, but I didn't want to play the entire thing. Again, just give you guys a little bit of that tease there. But again, that was Lying in My Grave, Malakai Manson. Now, that when we were looking at it on YouTube, they said it was, you just put it out about a month ago. So
Yes,
give us a
sir.
little bit of the background. What was the reasoning of picking this song? And then what was the mindset? How did you come about? What was that creative process about getting the video done? How did you come about creating it in the way that you did?
I feel like that song is one of the more put together ones. Like it has, you know, the little bit of a verse, it has a hook. You know, it's just well put together. It's kind of a little bit repetitive. That's basically the whole song. But
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. I was just fucking sitting here smoking or whatever, and we're just like, hey, let's make a video or whatever. And I picked that song. I was like, okay, kind of want to go something a little bit of the darker lo-fi stuff, and like, you know, a lot
Yep.
of distorted visuals and stuff like that. And yeah, I like the way that it turned out. I feel like we're trying to work on the quality aspect of stuff. I actually have a VHS camera that we're going to be putting to use sometime soon.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, that VHS kind of style could be really
Yeah.
cool, actually, because one of the things that when I was watching the video, and I think if you're not doing this on purpose, I am very impressed, because you do have a very noticeable style in the sense of this tone and this vibe, and the thing you are doing it in all aspects.
Yes.
And it is a full, and I mean this in the best way, because I think if we're doing it right, we are all playing somewhat of a character when
Yeah.
we are becoming behind the mic, or when we're going up on stage. There's aspects about our real person who really is going up there, and then there's
Yeah.
other things that are this is the superhero, and then any other time you see me and I'm not up here, then you see Clark Kent. But when I'm up on stage, I am Superman, and you better believe it. So I think for you, one of the things that I really liked about that video is that it was on brand. It was just creepy visuals, but even though, and I don't know if that was just all just shot within like 5 minutes on a phone or whatever, but like,
Yep, basically so.
the only thing I would say to improve it would just be to do different scenes. Would have
Yeah,
done
100%.
because it clearly looks like you did it all right there in that corner where you're sitting, where your studio space is.
Literally. Yep.
Again, I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I'm just saying it's like, hey, I've got this right here.
Yep.
Let's use what I've got. And now you make visual content to start with what you have available, what is simple, easy to utilize, not just that the stuff you're using is easy, like, oh, easy. Oh, so you mean it's cheap? No, it just means that he's not going out and spending $5,000 on getting some video guy with a big ass amazing camera and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But you are right. And that is a great thing that you learned, because any type of visual content, even unless it is just so shit quality that it's kind of like, okay, what even is this?
Yeah.
But that is clearly not what that video is trying to be. So again, you are on brand. It actually very much follows everything you talk about. So it is just very incredible to me for some of the things that you talked about tonight that are clearly very real, that you actively go with and struggle with, and some of those real things.
Yes.
That you're also like marketing wise, like doing all of this and really keeping yourself to this legitimate. When I'm watching this, I'm like, tell me he doesn't have a whole thing going. Like his whole character is at least very well thought out. And it is very impressive to think that you're doing all of this while also struggling with something that a lot of people don't deal with. Or if they did, maybe they would be doing this, but probably not. Like just to make music in a general way, when you don't have anything, like if you're me and you're, not married, no kids, have a career type job where I can kind of say yes to whatever I feel like. And oh yeah, you want to go spend $1,000 on this music video? And do it because you can. Or
Yeah.
do I want to come out with, 5 projects this year but I know every time I have to be in the studio and, oh, well, there's 4 more hours. All right, go pay for that time or whatever. But when you see that end result, it's always worth it. So for you to see that you're really making this character come alive in the way that you do, it is very impressive that you also do have to deal with these other things, but then really create this person in the way you have. It is very impressive to see. So for you individually, let me ask you that and take me a little bit further into your mindset around this. Is this something that you've just helped create now within the last 6 months as you've gotten better and understanding this piece more? Or have you always just kind of done this and now you just are even more purposeful about it?
I've definitely, that's 100% me. Honestly, I wouldn't even really say that it's a character. Like that's 100% just me, and I've always done that.
Wow.
I'm just now figuring out how to actually like execute it in the way that I see fit, like the way that I want it to be executed. Like I'm working with a
Yeah.
lot of people who actually like, luckily, like I said, shout out my boy Smitty. Luckily, he actually sees the vision and stuff like that. We work well together. Like if I have input on what needs to be done or whatever, or if he has input on what needs to be done, we work it out that way and we go from there and stuff.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, like I definitely yeah, that's something that I've always done. I'm just now figuring out really how to execute it and like put it to full effect.
Cool. Nice. Okay. And that is impressive because I think that in a lot of ways, if there's any one thing that most artists either are not as skilled at or that they fail at, it is not really being able to be as good at marketing themselves or
Yeah.
find that shtick that they just keep saying, nope, this is me. This is what I do. So the fact that you've really already like concretely and like foundationally
Yeah.
found that to stand on is really impressive.
Like I'm definitely trying to fit a certain aesthetic, but as far as that, like
Yeah.
it's 100% genuinely me. Like I'm not trying to put on any kind of show or facade for anybody. Like yeah, it's 100% me.
Gotcha. So then now let me ask you this. Now, again, thinking about this idea, and I was not saying any of that in the idea of like, oh,
Oh
I
no,
knew
you're
all of this
yeah, no, you're
beforehand.
good.
And
I didn't mean to.
yeah,
I didn't mean to make it come off like that.
no. I'm saying for everybody watching or anybody that
Okay.
sees this later, like this wasn't like something that, oh, I had pre-planned and that I was going to ask all these questions in this way. Like that would have been something that I only just saw when I'm just looking at his page and I'm hearing the lyrics and I see what he's trying to be able to put together. Now I see a much more specific visual thing.
Yeah.
And even though there are always, even if you're the last Beyonce video, there's always something you can do to make it better, no matter who you
100%.
are, like, regardless of what it is. But with something like that, it's clearly so you starting out and you're building that foundation, like you said, you're taking it more seriously in certain aspects, but the music's always been taken seriously no matter what, clearly for the
Yeah.
time that you've been doing it. And I think that that's impressive. But I saw those things as a secondary, oh, well, as part of this whole thing I have to do to get this type of an interview ready to go. Then I
Yeah.
saw all of this. And when you put it together, now granted, I think I got the full picture of it once I saw that video for the first time tonight, but there is an idea of a full meal deal that you had to think about in here before you then executed it. Even if you have now understand it better,
Yeah.
you weren't just inept and then one day woke up because you had one person talk to you about how marketing worked and now you become this in a night. Like that does not happen. You actively had to be thinking about this from the start. Like, so I think that that is impressive, that it's something that you actively had in your mind into your creative process and put in there. So is there anything that you want to try to do more, bigger, like in the sense of like thinking about that music video?
Yeah.
What are you wanting to do for, and I'm not saying that there's like a Lying in My Grave part 2, but like in the sense of like, if you're doing that video again, or the next one, you have planned, what are some things that you're really wanting to push yourself to say like, okay, here's what we got accomplished in 5 minutes shooting in this little corner, boom, 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 boom. Everything was easy, available, ready to go. And we could be able to execute and make it happen. That's sometimes where you have to start. Like You
Yep.
can't have the $1 million idea before you have the $5 idea, and then you build up to figure out how you execute the $1 million idea. So
Yeah.
what do you want to do on the next music video, thinking about that direct thing to make it even bigger than what this one was? But again, keeping that same theme and that the Malakai Manson vibe that you seemingly cultivated so well.
Basically just like better equipment for sure would be a big
Okay.
help. Like the quality would definitely help like enhance everything.
Yep.
Working on the editing and stuff like that as well, like still trying to figure out like, you know, the program and stuff like that, and
Totally.
get you know, like get the feel of it. But like, yeah, just I don't know. I guess yeah, just kind of like upping the quality and stuff like that as far as that goes, and like yeah, actually taking the time with like shooting the scenes and stuff, like instead of just doing it in one spot in the matter of 5 minutes, multiple angles, multiple locations in the matter of a specific
Yeah.
time.
Right. Well, because I think that was the thing where it's like there is a difference to say that, oh, I purely got lucky and fell into something, but then was also able to like stand up from that thing I fell into, even if it was good, you still fell into it. So you had to learn how to be like, okay, I fell into this thing. Did I stand up and was successful after the fact? And I think that it's impressive to see that where I'm like, all right, you know, you are putting that whole piece into it from the start. And it was a piece that you, at least business wise and correctly, were like, all right, I have to have a thing. Regardless of what it is, I have to have one. And you have
Yeah.
cultivated that well. So I think that is impressive. But I think that when I think about that music video, you also shot it well, even if
Yes.
it was, and I don't mean to say, oh, you shot it in 5 minutes in this one corner like it's a bad thing. I'm saying that you
No,
took
yeah.
exactly what you had available and you said,
Yep.
okay, here's where we're going to do this. How do we shoot it? Okay, let's just shoot it on me. But then when I saw how they did it, because they made it so blurry that they were purposefully doing that.
Yes, that's
And then doing
100% done
kind
on
of that, like
purpose.
that wavy, oh, what's the effect? Almost like that water droplet where it's like, bloop, 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 and then it kind of goes out and does that wave shake thing. I was like, oh, okay, I really like, because they knew what they were shooting with. They knew what they
Yeah.
were trying to be able to create. And yet with these weird, trippy things that they put in there, with these effects that they put on there, I'm like, this is actually really perfect and on brand exactly
Yeah.
to what he's been saying all night. So again, you're also taking that into the effect of the music video, and that it's not just a nonsense. Well, we just shoot that. Yeah, like at least it made sense. Even to the song, I was like, yep, I get it. Cool. Like, man, this works. Like now, if you had $1,000 to put to that video, wow,
Yes.
I would
Yeah.
love to see what that could look like. Where maybe you have a scene where you're in a church and you actually have somebody in a casket, or like do something where maybe you're at a graveside. Like you actually can make a scene where you have something much more specific or direct to the song itself. But with what you did and how you shot it, I was like, wow, good for you. Like you thought about all aspects of this. And I think the only thing I would say to also try on the next one, because it has worked for me and it's been really, really good, is to storyboard it. And to think in your mind, if I had $1,000 to spend on this, what would I do? And then whittle that down to how you want it to be.
Okay.
But start with that storyboard of like, okay, in this first one, I said, again, let's take everything that's available, easy, what we can have right now and pull out of our pockets, and then make content out of that. What could we do right now in this exact 5 feet of radius around us, and then make something from that? But again, like I said, you know, do that, and then you make that music video, and I'm like, wow, you did that with only that. Okay,
Yeah,
so
bro, I'm big on trying to just use the resources that I have within like the people that I know and stuff like that. Like I'm really like to go out of my way and stuff, but I understand like, you know, to a certain extent, it's good marketing and good promo and stuff to have the quality and to have the, you know, the better resources and stuff like that. So slowly we're gonna, you know, we're
Agreed.
working our way to get there.
Yeah, and I think but I think that it is impressive what you're doing with it at this point. So again, like I
I
said,
definitely appreciate
for
it.
you, what would you want to what is that, that next video big mindset idea that you want to try to be able to see accomplished in that? Or is there a whole actual story that you want to like, oh, I have this song that I want to do because I get to tell this different story that I didn't do with the Lying in Your Grave? Like, is there anything like that that you have like, oh, I want to see a bigger set piece, something like that?
No, 100%. I kind of want to incorporate like some skits and stuff in between like certain stuff. Like I definitely have a
Cool.
lot of ideas and stuff. I just gotta like, I don't know. I have to figure out the best way to execute them and like, just go from there. I'm like, I always take everything like one step at a time and day by day. Like I don't try not to rush stuff, even though I'm like super fucking impatient.
Well, no, I mean, I do agree. I am impatient in that similar vein to certain things. Like, especially once I know I have an entire project done, I get very annoyed when things
Yes.
get in the way of that. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
you know what? I did all of the work to make the content now done. And now this other thing is stepping in front of my path. Like, I did not plan for you. Get out of here. Like, so I agree with that. That when it's something that I don't feel like I tried to plan into it, I'm like, this should not be happening to me right now because I did not plan for this. So I agree with that sentiment there. So let me ask you this: thinking about the music that you've made up to this point now. So let's go back and not think about as much like future state stuff. Let's consider and think about all of the foundational music you have to stand on and what you have out that people can go listen to. And guys, everybody that's listening to this right now, or everybody that listens to this later, go find Malakai on YouTube or on any of the social or on any of the platforms, because
Yep.
you did have something that you do release it through DistroKid, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're available on everything. Yes, that's what I like to
Yep.
hear. Good, I like that. So yeah, so he's available everywhere. Now I personally just took a look at his YouTube, so definitely get subscribe to his YouTube. Again, like I said, put on all notifications so you know exactly when the next project drops too. But we do know that because he let us know Valentine's Day this year, 2025, February 14th. His brand new project will be dropping, so definitely get ready for that. But in a general way, though, definitely get subscribed to his YouTube and put on all notifications so you do know when a next song or project drops. But thinking about that music that you put out, thinking about the foundational stuff you can stand on, up to this point, and we'll do two sides of the coin. So
Okay.
we'll look at both the antithesis of it. What up to this point could you be able to point to and say, oh, either a numbers thing or an emotion thing or a life thing, whatever. What would be the thing you would point to say, up to this point, this is my biggest accomplishment that I feel like personally I have done, either directly within the music I have done, or because of music I've done this, something. What would be that thing for you that you could point to at this point and be like, man, this is a huge win or a big accomplishment for me because of this?
I mean, I feel like being consistent with the music and stuff has gotten me the opportunity to do shows this year and stuff like that. So I think it's like, just being consistent. Like, yeah, my stuff might not get views and stuff like that, but I have content to where people can go and look and stuff like that and see the progression of the stuff that I was making a year ago to now. And then like, just the stuff that I'm doing is enough to be able to get me the opportunities and make the connections with people and stuff that I have to push myself forward to get where I want to be. Like hopefully with the next project and stuff, with the way that I'm trying to market it and stuff, like it'll do a little bit better than I expect. Like I don't really, try to go into stuff with low expectations. I don't really like to, I don't want to like overdo it for myself, but like, I'm putting a lot of work and I'm putting a lot of effort into it. So I do want to see good results from the shit, but I just got to
Yeah.
do better. Just got to do better with it. Like the marketing and the promo. That's the whole like
Yep.
main thing that we struggle with. So that's a whole, like the main thing too, that we're trying to improve it and like take more
Yeah.
seriously when it comes to this.
But one of the things, though, that I will say about the idea of like, okay, you know what? Every single person, no matter who they were, artist or anything in life, but artists will use it, and it definitely makes sense because you had to start somewhere. And at
Yeah,
some
yeah,
point,
yeah.
and at some point, any one person didn't know how to be able to market themselves until they did, and then they
Yep.
did, and that thing didn't work, and this thing worked, and that one didn't work, and this thing worked, and boom, 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 and then you go from there. So I think that it is something also to be said with the idea that, like, okay, well, now I know more, so now I'm going to implement these things, and
Yep.
now I should expect that it will do better. However, though, the idea that most people don't think about, where they're like, oh man, I just want to be able to make it to here. Well, once you make it to here, that becomes the new floor.
Yep.
So you can't think about that now as, oh, you've made it, because you haven't made it. That now becomes your new standard.
Expectation. Yeah.
Exactly. So now this is the expectation, and how do you grow off of that standpoint? And then you grow from that and be like, oh God, well, I guess I did 1,000 streams. How do I do 2,000 streams? How do I turn that 2,000 into 10,000? How do I blah, 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 blah. You know, on the last episode, A Dot was like, okay, you know, medium, small size goal, you know, a stream with, you know, I think he said 10,000. And then he was like, okay, big goal, a stream with 100,000, or that I can be able to have 10,000 monthly listeners, or so. I can't remember exactly what it was. Like, but it was definitely like a very, I was like, oh, okay, that's, and then you look at some of his stuff, you're like, that's doable. Good for you. But yet it is a big goal. I think it was 100,000 plays for one song. And I'm like, that's a big goal, but good for you. Like, you got that in mind and you want to reach a spot. But once you get that, then 100,000 plays becomes your new, like, well, now the next song has to get more than that.
Or it's like setting a new bar, every time.
Exactly.
It's like,
it is setting a new bar. Yep.
Yeah, trying to meet those expectations. It's like when something does that, it's like, okay, I expect the next song to do this.
Exactly. So then let's take a look at the other side of that coin then. That's, you know, one of the biggest accomplishments. Let's take a look at the other side. So let's think about, and again, not a failure, because I don't believe in this type of a thing that it is a failure, because if we're at the level that we're at, we're not actually getting paid, where this is how we are making our money, or this is our career, where our livelihood and or our fame rises by the better or the more marketing or whatever we can do to make ourselves a bigger name, blah, 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 which then makes us more marketable, which then makes more people want to buy, which then hopefully then just compounds on each other. But when you're thinking about that, what would you say has been one of the biggest growing moments, or something like that happened, again, because of music, or because of music it introduced you to this, that then made you learn this thing, and it was like, all right, I had to take a punch in the gut on that one, or I had to, like, monetarily or blah, 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 like something happened that you physically had to, like, okay, yep, I definitely had some learning lessons or some takeaways, or yep, I have grown because of that. What would you say is that for you?
So basically, this like with what I was saying earlier, this like when we were doing all our shows and stuff like that, and we had the opportunities to do that, but like, you know, the people that were involved in that weren't good people and stuff. It's like that was definitely a huge learning experience, because it taught me to like kind of you know, don't necessarily just trust random people when it comes to stuff, and also don't let people use you in that certain kind of sense. So it's like doing more research and actually, you know, making the connections with the people, aside from like, you know, somebody just want you to do something and then it turning out to be something that it's not.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just taking those learning experiences and trying to use that as motivation and stuff like that to go forward.
For sure. And I mean, and you know, I mean, it's not the only thing you can do, but it's the only way that you'll move forward with it, is by taking it that way and being like, yep, you know what? All right. Yep. I had to take that on the chin, or I had to take that, you know, loss of money, or whatever the thing was. You had to.
Well, it was more so too, like it was basically risking my name, doing shows that were ran by a convicted sex offender, child predator and stuff like that. Like word got out and stuff like that, and then like people were still continuing to do shows with them, and it's like I just completely stepped back and I didn't want nothing to do with it. But it's like people look at it as like, oh, at the time y'all were doing stuff, so it's like, you know, the name kind of tried to get associated with, and I just had to do away with everything and stuff. Like we still have issues with those people to this day and stuff, because it's like again, the city that I'm in don't really focus on rap music and stuff like that. So it's like they're just,
Gotcha.
I don't know. They just don't give other people their opportunities when we're trying to do better for the city and stuff like that.
For sure. No, that definitely makes sense. Okay. No, I like that. All right, guys. So we're coming to the end of the general questions that I had. I wanted to be able to play the final song that I had, and usually I do pick three. But the next one up I wanted to be able to play is called Molasses. This is again one of my top three songs of all of the music that Malakai has released up to this point, and this is one of my favorite ones. So let me just get that pulled up before I get over to bringing that part up, and so I can get back actually to his page. Bear with me, guys. All right, let's see. Here are the releases, and this one was also. All right. So, and again, you guys, let me pull this back up. Let me bring this up to the stage. Again, this is the final song that I wanted to be able to play for you guys. The song is called Molasses, also from Resurrection Seems Satisfying, but the song is called Molasses.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
Oh my God, you're so filthy.
Highest of the high, I'm at the tip of the pinnacle. Dropped acid in my eyelids to open up the pineal. Moving militant with malicious intent. Living in the future, but I'm stuck in the present. Trying to forget my past. Feel like an outcast on my 3-stack shit. Doing everything to outlast, but I've ducked off in a bunker, sunken into the abyss. Moving with caution, cautiously at risk. Put me out my sorrow, don't wanna live to see tomorrow. All these sounds in my head, it's astounding how I'm not dead yet. Rounding up the times, I've contradicted my own life. Screaming to the top of my lungs, but no one listens to shit. Tired of feeling helpless, there's gotta be more to this. Going one day at a time to make it by. Yeah. Screaming to the top of my lungs, but no one listens to shit. Tired of feeling helpless, there's gotta be more to this. Going one day at a time to make it by. Yeah. Sanctioned in Satan's structure, stationed to my death. Ultimate opportunist, living life on the edge. And
so again, you guys, that song is called Molasses, and that's one of my favorite songs that he had. And this album, I really just in general liked this general album and this project a lot. But a lot of the music that he had, I really, really liked a lot of the music that you did have. But I think that, it's one of the things that I really also enjoyed about doing this show is that it does, in a way, sort of imprint me onto every artist a little bit more, to where I'm like, oh man, okay, they have actually got like a real legitimate fan in me, each one, because I really have gotten to hear their music probably more than the average person really would take that much of it in to try to experience in that way. So that again, and I like how you incorporated that James Bond type of sound in the instruments you had in there. So I just thought that was cool, to where I was hearing, I was like, oh, this is this is cool, because who doesn't love James Bond? And I do. I love James Bond. So I'm like, all right, I like it also for that too. So hey, sue me.
Yeah, I love the lyrics on those songs. I just wish I had a little bit more of a like put together flow and didn't sound like I was just reading it off of my phone. But like I love the lyrics. Those are like poems and stuff that I used to do and stuff like that too. So like yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely like I'm probably gonna end up doing some more like jazz lute poetry stuff in the next couple months. So you go back to the
Very
roots.
cool. No, I like that. I mean, and I think that is good, because I do and I mean, I agree with your thought process around that, and I think that it could have even more of sort of like a, you know, not in like a, oh, like a thunderball type of like, you know, thunderball like that, like, you know, you're really like kind of like doing like a big, you know, almost like an opera type of sound.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like in a
yeah.
way, like I could see what you mean, where I'm like, oh, you could put a little bit more of like a
We'll put up a little bit more
of a
emphasis on the words
flow.
and stuff like that.
Yeah. But I think though, with the way that you've done it now, again, like I would love to see the experimentation. So I think it would be cool. But I think that for who you are as the artist, I think that it definitely makes sense. And I'd love the song for that reason. But I also
Yeah.
like, again, I like that James Bond flow. I kind of like that smooth and, you know, sexy feeling of it. It's a good song, but it is just a really fun one. And again, like I said, that whole album kind of took, you know, I really did like a lot of that, you know, whole project.
No, I most
So,
definitely appreciate it.
so focused on, so, and again, kind of coming to these last couple questions here. And one of the last ones that I had wanted to be able to talk about, and I had this down as a, if he does, and if not, then I just don't really talk about it. But since you do, I wanted to be able to focus on it. And that is the brand new project that's
Yes.
coming out on the 14th. So again, give them the name of the project and then give us a little bit of a background, because you said the last one was more lo-fi. This one's like
Yeah.
trap metal. So give us a little bit of the background on how this project came about, because even though your style and some of your content is similar and it's in that vein and that lane,
Yeah.
that your projects also sound like they go in the theme of kind of what the idea of what the
Yes.
album is also talking about too.
Yeah.
So there is always that difference in like, well, yeah, but he's talking more about this on that one, or he's talking about this type of thing, or the theme of this album is this, you know, especially something like, oh, you know, Resurrection seems satisfying, or, you know, some of the other albums where you're like, okay, you know, like Eyes Wide Open, where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
even when you're looking at the cover art for that, you're like, whoa, what was going on in this one? Because comparatively to more of that darker colors, darker tone, darker feel and vibes of some of your other album cover art, that one really had definitely a much more pop of color and like, whoa, it's like painted and,
Yeah.
you know, that type of thing. So I like that about it. But tell us more about that project. Give us that name and give us a little bit of that background of how it's coming together. And then also to kind of end it off, what's the biggest thing or what's the most exciting thing that you want people to know about it?
Okay, so the project is called Undertaken to the Underside, and basically the theme on it is like, I don't know, you just gotta come to the underside to see what it's about. Like undertake yourself to the underside and come and see what we're about. The project is very, very distorted, like heavy bassed, just a lot of random sounds and like super just like I'm basically screaming on the whole project. So it's just like just super distorted, like a crazy bass, super loud, super noisy. It does have a very, very dark tone to it, but the cover for it, you'll kind of look at it and be like, okay, it kind of has like a MySpacey kind of vibe. It's got some bright neonish colors on it. But
Okay.
I'm excited to put this one out. It's a few of the songs I've had tucked away for a minute and kind of been trying to plan what to do with it. And then I just most recently got everything kind of put together. I got a feature from my homie Sassy. Shout out my boy Sassy.
Okay. Yep.
Another pioneer of the trap metal stuff around here.
Mm.
He's a big inspiration on this shit too, and with the sounds and stuff like
Mm.
that too.
Okay,
But
cool.
yeah, honestly, I really don't got much more to say about it. I kind of just want people to listen to it and then kind of, interpret it for themselves, of course, and just see what the
Totally.
underside is about. Like I feel like it's the perfect representation of the underside and what we're about. It's like, yeah, I can't wait for people to hear. I have a song on my page. I actually have a music video called "On the Edge" by Malakai Manson, and that song
Okay.
is on the project too. So if people want to go check that out, they can kind
Oh.
of see. Yeah, if people want to check that out, they can kind of see, get the general vibe of what the project's gonna be.
And I love that you have, well, I mean, again, I do keep saying it because I when I think of the name Malakai, I do think of it as just like a name where I'm like, oh, I have to keep remembering that isn't your name. But like
Yeah.
I do like the fact, you know, in the way where I'm like, okay, I'm glad that you have that name because at least no matter what the song your name or what the name of the song is, you put Malakai after that. Yeah, it's the only one that's gonna pop up. It will be your song,
100%,
guaranteed.
100%.
So I
You
do
can
actually
Google my
like that.
name and find you can Google my name and find all my shit. My whole catalog will pop up.
Nice. Okay, I like that. I like that. Okay, so now we are here at kind of the final song or final question, or in the sense of like, you know, not a question, just a statement from you.
Okay.
So, and this is something I like to ask, I've started doing on the last, many one of these, but what, just thinking about, right now, again, you can talk about the upcoming album again,
Yeah.
whatever, but like what, getting ready for 2025, what are some things that you want people to know? What are just some, what are some, like, if you're giving yourself a PSA, like, what is it that you want people to know about you?
Um, like I said, I really don't have much to say. Like I kind of want people to listen to the music and kind of get an idea of like, listening to my music honestly will kind of give you an idea of like who I am and like what I go through on a daily basis and
Yeah.
like, kind of what I'm trying to do. Um um yeah, if you listen to the most recent project at War with My Mental, that one is kind of
Mhm.
a little bit more touchy basis on like the depression, the you know um daily battles and stuff. So I think that'll kind of give you an idea of like, who I am, kind of what my image is, the aesthetic I'm going for. And then yeah, with the
Yep.
new project, I just hope people actually tune in and listen and yeah, trying to take this shit to a new level.
Nice. Nice. I like that. All right. Well, I really like that. All right. Well, guys, that was all of the questions that I had, for Malachi Manson tonight. I wanted to be able to, and again, guys, put down in the comments, and anybody that's watching this, now, anybody that's watching this later, put down in those comments, what part of the discussion, what part of the interview that you thought was your favorite, because I will say that, we got into some deep topics tonight and some of the
Yeah,
stuff that we
most
talked
definitely
about,
so.
like, I had to be able to kind of like, pre-work with him and just be like, okay, this is some things I was considering and thinking about. And he's like, dude, bro, I'm an open book. I'm like, okay, because you just don't know. You just never know. And I was like, you know what?
Yep.
But again, it was like, that was what came out of, listening to the music. And I was like, okay, I want to go deep tonight. And I want to, really kind of go to some places and ask some type of questions that I haven't really asked before, but also be like, okay, you know what? If you are willing to kind of give me some information, and I thought that, some of the stuff we talked about tonight was really, really, really important, but not just because of how it affects music or what it means because of the creative process, but just because, again, like I talked about, some of those battles you go through or the things that you struggle with, the majority of the average person is just not going to understand what that is.
Yeah,
And
I mean, some of the
I'm
stuff,
like,
yeah, some of the stuff that I'm saying or some of the stuff that I'm going through the music, expressing that can also help somebody else kind of, get the idea that like, hey, what I'm going through, I might not, I'm not going through this alone. Somebody else actually understands and can relate to that. And like, that's another thing that I
yep,
want people to kind of, take in through the music and stuff too, is like, you don't go through this shit alone. I don't go through this shit alone. Other people have these issues and stuff. It's like,
yep,
most people don't know how to express themselves when it's like, I've tried therapy, I've done all that stuff, but I feel like music helps me the best when it comes to actually being able to express myself.
totally. Yeah, I agree. No, I absolutely agree. And and again, I thank you for coming on and giving us your time tonight.
Oh,
And
most definitely, bro.
just
I
all
appreciate
of
you as
the
well.
no, thank you so much, man. And one of the things that we talked about in the last episode, and somebody had mentioned it to me, and they're like, "Oh man, thank you for giving me the opportunity." And I'm like, "No, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to interview you guys and to listen to the music and to really get involved in this way and talk to you because I'm like, man, every single one of these." this is the longest I've ever had a conversation with anybody for one of these before. So
Yeah, it's been nice, bro. It's
really,
been nice. I definitely appreciate you. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity and giving me the space. And shout out RPG and shout out all the boys at Bozy World and everything.
absolutely. All right. Well, guys, again, so this was episode 14 of our ongoing series called Artists on Artists. And tonight's showcase and spotlight was Malakai Manson. And so, guys, like I was talking about at the beginning, definitely go and get subscribed to his YouTube page. Find him. He's available on all platforms. So just like me, he releases through DistroKid. So it's like, yes, I love to hear that because I'm like, all right, boom. No matter where I search, I can be able to find and just that little give me that little search button and let me find Malakai Manson and you can be able to find him. So again, you guys, episode 14, Malakai Manson was our spotlight and our showcase tonight. Again, Malakai, thank you so much for being here and joining us on the episode tonight. Thank you for the
most definitely so, bro.
Interview and the great questions. And guys, get ready for next week's episode. And then I am going to be on vacation for a couple weeks. And our main leader, Louisville, he is going to be taking over for those 2 weeks. So for Gutta 2 times and Macromorphous, Louis is going to be doing those interviews. So just when you don't see me, don't freak out. That's on purpose. I am on vacation and Louis will be taking those spots, but I'm definitely glad that I got to interview with Malakai tonight.
Most definitely, bro.
Fantastic job. Thank you, sir. And again, you guys join us next week for next week's episode 15. And that is going to be featuring Adult Swim. So get excited for that. But guys, if you are just coming into this now, make sure and watch the full thing and put down in those comments what was your favorite song. And when you go back and listen to Malakai's music, what is your favorite song overall? And let me know if it matches up with one of my 3 favorites. All right, guys. So again, thank you so much for joining us on this episode tonight featuring Malakai Manson. Incredible artist. Definitely go check out his music right now as soon as you get done with this interview. And we'll see you for the next one, guys. All right. Peace.